Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Divorced Woman's Guide podcast. I am so excited that you decided to tune in today because I am here with my dear friend, Junie Moon. Hello, Junie. How are you?
I am so happy to be here. Yes, yes, yes. Such a good day.
I love it. I love it. I'm so looking forward to our conversation today because everybody tuning in, we are going to be talking about the shadow side of love. So in other words, why do people struggle in relationships? And so many women are their own worst enemy. Why do we do this to ourselves, you guys? So we're going to dive headfirst into this conversation. And first, I'm going to share a little bit about Junie and why she is the complete and perfect person for us to bring on the show to talk about this. So Junie Moon, otherwise known as the Love Coach, teaches women in midlife how to magnetize their ideal partner and experience next level love using her unique heart-centered dating strategies, coupled with some powerful mindset tools that helped her magnetize the love of her own life. Women learn to embrace this precious stage of life with confidence, playfulness, and ease. Junie's an award-winning international speaker, #1 Amazon best-selling author of Loving the Whole Package, Shed the Shame, and Live Life Out Loud, director-producer of the film Shed the Shame, host of the podcast Midlife Love Out Loud, and a certified shadow work facilitator. Junie, I'm so happy to be talking with you again. It has been way too long since we last had a conversation. I think it might have been at one of my summits that you were kind enough to be a guest on. And so I would love for you to refresh our audience around what about your story inspired you to do the work that you do today?
Yes, thank you. It has been a while, and it's always such a pleasure. I just think you're such a rock star with your message and what you're doing in the world and helping everybody. So thank you for letting me add to your tribes and and all the messages that you're bringing. Why do I do what I do? Well, I've been there. I've been there in that place of self-doubt. I've been there in that place of, is love possible? Can I really have a good, healthy relationship after being in a 20-year marriage, walking on eggshells, unable to really speak up and have my voice heard, being able to get my needs met? It took such a toll on my life. And it wasn't until I really found the work that I do now, the shadow work, that helped me find my truth, find my confidence, and really blast through a lot of my insecurities to be able to create the life that I have now. And so when I took this body of work, the shadow work, personal growth work model that I was taught out into the world, I really needed to figure out who I wanted to help the most. And it was a no-brainer, women that have been through hell or heartbreak or challenge or betrayal or, fill in the blank, that are really wanting more love. I have the flashlight now. I know how to walk through the dark tunnel and get to the other side. I've done it. I'm helping clients do it. And I knew that this was something I really wanted to bring out there to help more women know that love is possible and beyond their wildest dreams once they can really let go of the past, heal some of the old crap they've picked up along the way, and put a stake in the ground for what they truly want now and feel deserving of it. So I've been there, I've moved through it, and I'm happy to say I have an amazing life with an amazing partner. And now I get to do it with my clients as well, and to share the message with you guys today.
Yes. And it's such a valuable one because so many of us women, we struggle. We struggled in our marriages. And I know so many people don't want to duplicate, right, the same mistakes that they made or necessarily attract the same type of partner. So and you guys, we will get into like, what does shadow mean and what is shadow work? And we're going to get into that. I want to kind of tee us up into what that work accomplishes by first addressing and talking about what do you see as some of the biggest struggles that people are facing, as they are looking for new relationships, and, who gets in the way?
Yeah. Who gets in the way? What is in the way? Yeah, we are our own worst enemies, and yet we are our best friends as well. And sometimes we can really beat ourselves up terribly, thinking, what's wrong with me? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why do I keep creating the same horrible scenarios with people that seem different, but then end up being the same? And when I say our best friend as well, is because on some level, we're choosing these patterns as a way to stay safe. So on the one hand, we're being really careful. On the other hand, we're sabotaging the very thing we want. And so what we really need to do is identify what it is we want first and really get clear about what kind of vision we have for ourselves at this stage of our life and what matters to us, and who, if we want to have a partner, who do we want to bring in? But more importantly, what's not working? And so in reference to why we sabotage and why we get in our own way, it's strategies, it's strategies to keep us from making the same quote mistakes, because I don't believe they're mistakes. I think they're great lessons. And so just, a quick scenario, wherever you are, if you've had a heartbreak, if you've had a betrayal, if you had somebody die, if somebody abandoned you, if maybe you've never had a relationship before, you've had pain, you've had experiences that gave you information about what love is like, what partnership is like, and how it's going to be for you. Or maybe you've witnessed it in your parents when you were growing up. And so we've been accumulating information from very early on. And this is what's laying down all these beliefs. All this information creates these neural pathways that have us acting in certain ways because that's what we know. And so we need to change those patterns. But first we have to identify those patterns. So why do we get in our own way? Why do we sabotage? Because on some level, we're afraid if we actually do something differently, if we actually open up our hearts again, the same thing might happen. We might crash and burn. And the idea of that is terrifying. And so there's a part inside of us, we call it the risk manager in shadow work. This risk manager is assessing risk all the time. Oh my God, she's about to go online. If she does that, she might meet somebody. Oh my God. And then she's going to have the same pain she had before. Let me just tell her she's too fat. She's too old. That'll keep her offline. She's not going to do it. So that's what happens. There's this mechanism, a safety valve, if you will, that's kind of built into our survival system so that we don't take certain chances, so that we don't get hurt again. And that's why we sabotage. And we have to update our risk manager. We have to change those patterns and know that love is not only possible, but it's our birthright.
Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy. I love the risk manager, which, tends to be one of, and I know you and I use this term quite a bit, which is, they're sort of what I actually would identify them as being one of my negative inner critics, right? Call it an inner critic, call it a saboteur, call it a gremlin, however you guys identify, right? Is that, these gremlins are living inside of our heads, right? Who are maybe alerting the risk manager of all the things that, are going to happen. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know that people listening, a lot of you guys understand and know you have those negative voices inside of your head. So what are they doing there, and why can we not silence them so easily?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is we really can silence them. It just takes a little effort and
practice.
Consciousness. And so a great question. And how we see it is we have this risk manager, this part that wants to keep you safe and protect you, and is watching out for all the pitfalls and all the possibilities of you falling down into the same hole and getting hurt. And so how we see it is the inner critic, or the gremlins, work for the risk manager. So if the risk manager sees that you actually might do something that is risky, where you might get hurt, it calls in the troops. It calls in the ants, the automatic negative thoughts. And so we have these inner critic beliefs as a way to keep us from taking a chance again. And so we need to get that risk manager to see that the strategy of the inner critic of the getting us sick, the bad behaviors, anything that's stopping us from really saying yes to the fullness of what we want, that it's actually hurting us. That by holding us back, by telling us that we're too ugly, or who's going to want us because we're too old, that is causing us a huge pain, and that the idea of being alone or not having somebody to share our life with has a price. And when that risk manager can really go, oh, wait a second, here I was thinking I was protecting her from heartache, but my strategy is actually hurting her. Maybe I need to find some new strategies. And when that happens, that's when the inner critic, suddenly the volume goes much lower. And then our confidence gets way higher because we know that we can do this differently. We're wiser, we're older, we have coaches, we have groups, we have sisters, we have books. And that's when the risk manager can go, okay, wait a second. I can do this, and I can do this differently and not hurt this woman who desires love.
Yeah, I mean, because we all come into, any relationship with our past or limiting beliefs, these stories that we've perpetuated for ourselves. And, these patterns are no longer serving. They're no longer serving you. They're no longer serving any of us. And so when we think about breaking these patterns, right, sometimes people are like, oh, that is so much easier said than done. So what is one way that people can really start being more conscious to their thoughts and breaking these patterns?
Yeah, that's also a really great question. Well, first of all, some patterns are easier to break through than others.
Right.
Let's be real. It's like we're talking about decades and decades of programming. So some patterns need a little time, some unpacking to be had. And interestingly enough, in this body of work called shadow work, the shadow being the part of us that we've shamed, the part of us that we go, ooh, I better not show somebody this part. It's a bad part. We somewhere picked up a message that we can't be a certain way. And so in shadow work, we want to be able to shine a light on those parts and show up fully as we are, with all of our beauty and even our imperfections, and feel comfortable with that. So in shadow work, when we can identify that there is a wounding or a pattern that keeps showing up, that there are special processes that we do to break through those patterns. And sometimes it doesn't actually take long. Sometimes we just go boom, and the shift of awareness is, in A Course in Miracles, which is another body of work. What's a miracle? A shift of perception. And sometimes when you could just see it so differently, it just evaporates. And yet it does take time. So to your question, what's the fastest, easiest way to shift? The first thing is really to become aware that something's not working and identify it. Awareness is the first step. And then making a decision that that's not acceptable anymore. It's not going to be, well, this is the way it is. I just have to be with it. And all right, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. I have to get used to it. I mean, that's a strategy. And you might end up having an amazing life with that strategy. If you want something different, if you want what I call next level love, where you're able to relax and be yourself, show up fully as yourself, not put a mask on and try to be something different for somebody else, but to actually be your true, authentic self, then become aware of what you want, become aware of, ooh, I don't really speak up for myself, or, ooh, I actually step on people's toes, or whatever it is. Become aware of the pattern or the pain or whatever's not working for you. And then say, I want something else. And I'm going to figure it out. And that's when you hire someone like Wendy, someone like me, to be able to be your guide. Because at the end of the day, if something's in shadow, if something is squished, put away, locked in a closet, and you don't want to look at it, you may not be able to find it. You probably won't be able to see it. And then we can guide you to be able to go, oh, wait a second. It doesn't have to be so painful. It doesn't have to be so scary. And that your life can be on your terms.
Yeah. And I'm hearing you say, take your power back, right? Take your power back, own your choices, start making new decisions, new choices, change your behaviors. And in order for us to do that, right, as you so beautifully said, we've got these shadows, right, that are keeping us from taking that step forward. So let's dive into the amazing shadow work that you do. So talk to me a little bit about what they are, right? And why is it so incredibly important for people to have awareness around them?
Absolutely. And I want to just add one more thing to, what you just said about the risk manager and taking back our power. That risk manager inside of you might be going, oh my God, she's taking back her power. Oh my God, she's taking the reins. Right. How scary is that? So sometimes we're actually, the very thing we want, again, that risk manager is going to be like, no. If she thinks she's got this, I better show her she doesn't, because that's scary. The risk manager doesn't like the unknown. So that's why we have to really, have a different relationship with that part of us that's going, no, don't do it. So the shadow and this body of work. So shadow work has been around for a while now. This particular model founded by Cliff Barry and Mary Ellen Wallen since the 80s. And it has four main energies, four main archetypes that they look at. And what I did was I looked at it through the eyes of love, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's coming back to our hearts, coming back to our truth, and being who we are. And so what I did was I looked at it and said, wait a second. There are these four love shadows. And if you've been wounded in one of these four areas, this is going to be potentially detrimental to you opening up your heart and having a great relationship with others or with yourself. So I'm just going to zip right through it, because it's a whole body of work that I will do workshops on for many, many days. So let's just zip through it. So if you have a magician wound, the magician being the part that helps you see and make decisions and be clear. If you have a wounding in that area, the magician is the part that keeps you safe and helps you step back and go, wait a second, I better strategize and make sure I'm going to be okay. Risk manager. Okay. And so if you've had a big wounding in that area where somewhere along the way, you got terribly hurt and you got a message that you're bad or something's wrong with you, you're going to be on high alert. And if this is really active, then if you go on a date, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be thinking a lot. You're going to be ruminating. You're going to be looking for all the red flags. You're not going to be able to be present. You're in your fear. And so that could be running you and keeping you from really relaxing and enjoying your life or moving forward. Then there's the sovereign energy. And the sovereign energy is where our self-esteem lives. This is where we know we can go shoot for the stars and live in our hearts and our passions and desires, because we know we deserve it. So if we've had a wounding where we thought we were given the message that maybe we're not good enough, we believe we're not good enough, something, that we need to prove ourselves that we're good enough, and we have that wounding that's going on, then how is that going to show up? Well, that's when we give away our power. That's when we don't ask to get our needs met. That's when we dim our light and play small. And so you could see how that would affect relationships. Let's move to the lover energy. The lover is the energy, the archetype where we connect and bond with each other. This is where we open and our vulnerability lives. And so again, if we've been hurt and we've had a trust broken and maybe felt abandoned, and we just don't feel safe, then this energy, the wounding in this love shadow will have our heart closed. We'll have a wall built around our heart. And that's certainly going to get in the way of true connection and intimacy. And people won't be able to get in. You won't be able to receive love. And so there'll be a disconnection. And so if you have that running, you could see how that would impact relationship. And then the last one is warrior. We need to have that sense of self. We need to be able to know we exist separate from other people, and that we can take good care of ourselves and draw the line in the sand and have healthy boundaries. So if we got a message that we don't matter, that we don't exist, that other people are more important than us, you could see how our boundaries can get murky, and we can be doormats, and we can just not be taken care of in that way and feel like we've lost our sense of power and our sense of self. And again, if we're in a relationship with that woundology, you could see how it's going to, the energies between the two are going to just be off and uneven. And that will impact the ability to have a true, meaningful, interdependent, healthy relationship. So that's a quick snapshot of all four love shadows.
and they make so much sense. And I'm sure everybody listening has a million other questions around this. The one that first comes to my mind is wondering, so does everyone have shadows? Do we all live with shadows lurking?
I believe so.
Yes.
I believe so. I think we all have shadows because we're human beings. And at the end of the day, we are wired for survival. We are wired to make sure that we don't get hurt. And so to live in this culture, to live in the world, to live embodied, there is this part inside of us that's like, okay, like, how do I fit in? How could I be okay? How do I get through? And so again, we've been picking up information all along, and so much is in our unconscious mind. 95% of our brain is unconscious. And so that's where the shadows live. That's where our doubts live. And again, in service to us on some level to keep us safe. But as we know, it's painful. So yeah, we all have shadows. And I continue to peel back the layers of my shadows because there are layers of shadows. So I might have one shadow of insecurity. Maybe I threw out my self-esteem, which I did years ago, and feel really strong and confident. But then something pokes me and I go, oh, there's another memory. There's another experience, another layer. So we just keep moving forward, unpeeling the onion and getting stronger and clearer and healthier. And at the end of the day, we can take back our control and our clarity and our self-worth and be way more conscious. So if a shadow does appear, if we find ourselves acting out of shadow where we say something we don't mean, or act out in a way that we're like, oh, wow, I can't, that's such an old way of expressing myself. Where did that come from? Then you can spot it faster, move past it faster, and come back to your alignment. So the long answer is yes. I really do believe that we all have shadows, and we just need to learn how to dance with them better and become more conscious of them. So we're in control of our energy, and that the shadows are not in control of us.
Yeah. And as you're talking about these shadows, I'm sure a lot of people are going, do I have the magician? Do I, they're trying to like fit themselves.
Where am I?
Right. Which one do I have? Do I have all of them? Maybe I have this one. Maybe I don't have that one. So how can people really know what is in their own shadow? Because I imagine everybody's is different.
Yeah. Different and the same. Different in the sense that we all have our own stories and our own journeys. Right. And when I have this year program, it's the Midlife Love Mastery program. And I say to the women right now, you're all different. You all had different experiences. And now look for the similarities. Where are you all feeling some fear? Oh, you all have fear. We meet there. Oh, we all have sadness. We can meet there. But we all have our unique stories. And so we have flavors of all four archetypes. In fact, we have all four archetypes in us. In my book, Loving the Whole Package, which is all about loving all of who you are, you learn about all four archetypes, and you start to see, oh, I run a lot of magician energy. Yes, I've had sadness, and sometimes that shows up. And yeah, sometimes my self-esteem can really be a little shaky, but at the end of the day, whoa, my brain can't stop. And I'm constantly thinking, overthinking, planning, because I'm so scared that something's going to go south. And so when you start to look at all four of them, you have a clearer picture of what's running you the most. And so when I work with people, soon out the gate, they start to see, oh, you know what? I really have a big wounding in trust. No wonder I have my heart in lockdown. I need to do some lover work. I see we all have aspects of all four of them, and we all have all four beautifully working for us. It's just one or two might be overworking, and we need to find that balance and do the healing work.
Yeah. And it's so incredibly important. And, I even with you just talking, I'm going, maybe I should be doing some of this work for myself. So
Yeah.
tell our audience today, like, what are some of the benefits? Why should people be thinking about doing this type of work? What's on the other side of it?
Well, the benefit is not being in the dark and having things happen to you that you don't understand, or be at the mercy of behaviors that hurt you, whether it's overeating, over drinking, over sexing, overworking, not standing up for yourself, not putting yourself out there. I mean, there's a huge price we pay when we're in the dark and we don't understand why we're keeping us locked in this holding pattern. And so the benefit is freedom. Bottom line, the benefit is freedom. Freedom to be you, freedom to feel good about yourself, the freedom to put yourself out there and not be scared, the freedom to go on a date and actually have fun. I mean, it's one of the things I love about working with my clients is they actually start to have fun dating, versus that when they first come to me, they're like, it's exhausting, I'm giving up, I'm meeting all these creeps, I don't believe there's anybody out there, versus, wow, I just had a really fun date. I don't think he's for me, but you know what? It was okay. And I had a good time. And, so the benefit is having a life on your terms consciously, and not having these shadowy, old, crappy things that are in your, in your unconscious mind, pulling your life strings. Because that's where I was. I had no idea. I mean, 18 years ago, I was 200 pounds. I was eating a ton of food, getting through the day, thinking I had a food problem. And I didn't realize it was a self-esteem problem. I didn't realize it was a self-hatred problem. I didn't realize that I didn't know how to take a stand for myself. My warrior wound was so deep that I didn't know what power was. I was terrified of conflict. So I didn't understand it. I just felt it, and I had the consequences of it. And then I found shadow work, and then I went, oh. And so through processing, doing these special designed processes specifically for my challenges, breakthrough, change. I've kept off 50 pounds for 18 years, friggin' miracle. And I'm happy. So lots of upside by doing shadow work.
Absolutely. And there absolutely is. It's mental, it's physical, it's emotional healing. It's, for me, what I'm hearing is it's healing work. It's another modality of healing yourself.
It totally is. And it is spiritual work. We talk about that in our shadow work communities with our trainers, that the emotional baggage that we hold and the pain that we have keeps us from really being in our divine, in our aligned self, in a place where we can shine our beautiful, unique light. And as long as we're getting in the way of us relaxing and being who we are and be ourselves and actually love being ourselves without apology, we keep ourselves from really experiencing what I believe is again, our birthright to enjoy this journey and be full blast, and be able to experience next level love just as we are, without having to jump through hoops.
Yeah, so eloquently said, so beautifully said.
You.
Oh my gosh, Junie, I feel like we could go for like another 30 minutes on this topic, and I would love to have you back on to go deeper into this work. But I want to say thank you for joining me and for sharing so much of your incredible wisdom and speaking about a topic I don't even know if many of my listeners know that much about. It's such important work. It's another modality of work that you guys get to consider doing. And, Junie is your person. So let everybody know, please, how it is that they can get a hold of you. And Junie also has a special gift for all of you guys tuning in today.
Yes, I do. First, you could just Google me, Coach Junie Moon, and that is my website, coachjuniemoon.com. So Junie is spelled Junie. And if you Google me, I'm kind of all over the place right now, kind of like Wendy. We hit a lot of places, and it's exciting because we've been able to hop into different places. But that's a good place to go, and there's lots of content there, and even another free gift on my website. The special gift I have for you is my Find Fabulous Love After 40 guide. And this is a workbook It's a journey to connect with your risk manager. We've been talking about your risk manager and sabotage. And so if you really want to start to change the relationship with your risk manager and get the risk manager to do different things and to lower the volume of your inner critic, then this workbook gives you 10 steps. It's a 10-step process. It's not like this long journey. And yet there's a lot of content in there, and it is an experiential workbook for you to really shift your relationship with your fear and your inner critic so that you really can move forward consciously and happily.
Amazing. You guys, all of this information can be found in the show notes. What a generous gift, Junie. Thank you so much for the work that you do in this world, for being a dear friend, and for joining me today. I adore you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I feel the same way. I'm so happy that we are connected, and I'm so happy that I got to share this message. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And everybody tuning in, thank you guys so much for joining Junie and I today. What a great conversation. You guys know that with every podcast episode, my goal is to enlighten you, to hand you any bit of information that is going to help you to navigate wherever it is that you are in your divorce process. Sending you all tons of love, light, and joy as always. Mwah. Bye, everybody.